ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the 10th anniversary 2-pack from Batman Begins of the Demon version of Batman and also Scarecrow. I personally couldn't be more excited. These are actually the final figures that I'll personally be picking up for my Nolanverse collection, where almost at the end you will be seeing a review on the Tumbler and the 1/12 scale Bat coming up very soon on the channel. But I do have to say a huge thank you to my lovely wife for purchasing me this 2-pack for my birthday, and I couldn't be more excited to get them out here. Now I do believe you are able to pick these up from toyswonderland.com. However, it's a long since sold out release, so it will be extremely expensive. Also, the sticker on the front says that it's limited to 2,000 units, so bear that in mind when you are heading down to the link I have warned you. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here of course we have the outer box art for the 2-pack. Now down the bottom here you can see a real metal sticker style piece that says Hot Toys and 10th anniversary, plus the limited 2000 edition for Hong Kong. Now both figures are stored within this outer shell, so we will be taking a look at them one at a time, of course. Now starting off with the Batman demon figure himself. Technically, this is Batman, it's just the hallucination version that the Scarecrow sees when he's been gassed by his own poison. Now, this box art style, I don't think we've ever seen again after we got this 2-pack. It's a bit of a shame because this is super duper classy, but I guess it makes it all the more special for this being the 10th anniversary figure set. Now, here we have Demon Batman himself, fresh and brand new. This pack has actually never been opened by the previous owner. But here we have him, we'll set him aside for now. You can see he does come with a bunch of stuff in the box there as well. Down below we do also have the Scarecrow. Now there is a third-party version of Scarecrow coming out very soon. I do plan on reviewing that as soon as it's out and comparing it to the official Hot Toys version. Now you can see an image of Scarecrow again on the front of the box here. I do believe that's an artistic style image of the figure, not just a rendering or a graphic design piece there. Now let's get the Scarecrow himself out here. I've been super excited to add yet another villain to my growing Nolanverse shelf. And we do have Scarecrow, the man himself, the big bad, if you will, from Batman Begins. And I have to say, first in-hand impressions are pretty darn positive, even for an older release. Now you can see he does come with a bunch of stuff down below, so what we are going to do now is get all of the accessories for Demon Batman and also the Scarecrow laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything they come with. And here we have all of the bits and pieces that come with Batman and Scarecrow. Let's start off by taking a look at Scarecrow's display base first. It's of course a classic Hot Toys oval display base, Batman Begins and Scarecrow printed on the front there. Unfortunately, he only comes with hands, one open one and one pointing one. They are at least a little bit weathered, and they are sculpted very nicely, except he doesn't come with a Cillian Murphy head sculpt. Not entirely sure why, but hopefully a third party will remedy that sometime down the line. Now for Demon Batman, the exact same display base, except Batman Demon printed on the front. Luckily, this guy comes with more in the way of accessories. Mostly, they are of course hands. These ones have some really nice talons incorporated into the glove. You can see some awesome dry brushing on the back just to bring the gloves to life. He also comes with 2 Batarangs. They look beautiful in black, and you can see a little bit of a rust effect around the edges there. Kind of is interesting seeing these in black. Usually we get them in gold. It would have been nice for him to have black Batarangs in the film, but I get it. They wanted a little bit of contrast, so they went with gold. What we are going to do now, though, is get Scarecrow himself out here and take a closer look. And here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box. No crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And I have to say, he does what he says in the tin. It's a 1/6 scale Scarecrow figure. While he is missing a few accessories, I would have liked a Cillian Murphy head sculpt and also maybe a few effect pieces for the fear toxin, how he sort of expels it out of his wrist. I would have liked a nice smoke effect piece. But this is Hot Toys from back in the day, so they didn't necessarily do that. What we do have, however, is a really nicely sculpted head sculpt and a very well put together outfit. What we are going to do now, though, is take a look at Scarecrow, and then, once we've done that, we'll bring the demon version of Batman out here and do the same thing for him. So, without further ado, let's take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal, and I have to say, for an older release and for something that's pretty simple in design, Hot Toys really did nail it. Let's start off by talking about the head sculpt first. Now, unfortunately, there is no Cillian Murphy head sculpt. As you already saw by the accessory segment, we only get the fully masked version of Scarecrow, but for me personally, I would have gone with that anyway. I think he's the most imposing when he's wearing this mask. It's really nicely sculpted. It's dirty and nasty and gnarly. There's a bunch of washes throughout, and you can see his creepy eyes peering from behind it. There is also a real material noose tied around the bottom of the mask. You can see it's sort of incorporated into the sculpt. Now, yes, this outer straitjacket that has been sort of torn around the front can be removed. There are some press studs down the back here, so if you do want him just in the material suit, you could do that, but for me, I'm probably going to stick with the trench coat, or I should say the straitjacket coat, because I think it looks a little bit more imposing. Also, there are a bunch of washes throughout the entire thing just to dirty it up and make it look a little bit more grimy. If this was 100% pristine, he would look a little bit out of place. Now, moving down to the suit, you can see it's not just a pristine suit either. It's all wrinkled and creased up. Unfortunately, there's no weathering on the suit itself, but it doesn't look too out of place because it is so wrinkled and baggy. Now, moving down to the boots, these are fairly simplistic, but we do have to keep in mind the age of the figure. No real laces, and the weathering is a little bit basic, but on the underside there, the soles are really nicely done, and they are significantly weathered. Overall though, as I said, it's a pretty straightforward design. It's literally a suited character with a straitjacket over the top and a mask, but it's imposing, it's creepy. Just look at that head sculpt. The sewn together mouth really adds to the creep factor, and honestly, I cannot wait to pop him alongside the rest of the Nolanverse villains in the display. Next up, here we have the Scarecrow alongside Bruce Wayne. Now, I'm fairly sure the bodies underneath are going to be identical between the two. It's just the boots on Scarecrow which are giving him a little bit more added height. Otherwise, they are pretty much the exact same size figure. I like that. It works for me perfectly fine. But that does mean when you get your DX19, this Scarecrow is going to be slightly too small. Therefore, if you are going for that third-party version of Scarecrow, you can potentially put him on a slightly taller body, then get that figure in scale with your new DX19. Just going over articulation on Scarecrow. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Now, starting off with the head sculpt itself, it is on a fixed neck, and as you can see, doesn't really get a huge range of motion. However, the arms are completely unrestricted. It's made of entirely fabric, out to there, forward pretty much the full way, butterfly joint up there as well, and a swivel, plus double bend at the elbow, and a regular 1/6 scale joint for the wrist itself. Now for the torso, you get swivel, pivot, and crunch, a pretty darn decent amount forward and back. The legs forward the full way, same without, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend there at the knee, and a regular 1/6 scale joint down for the ankle. Except, as you guessed it, no split cut boot design. That means you pretty much have entirely fixed ankles. And here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Not that he could really pull off any crazy poses, but nevertheless, he does look absolutely incredible just standing there. The suit, the detail of the head sculpt, it really will blow you away when you get this guy in hand. I know it certainly has for me. While it's not 100% perfect, it's an older release, so we do have to look at it with a nostalgic lens, and I'm going to try and do that throughout the course of this video. I love the way it looks, just standing straight up and down. Yes, I wish it could move, I wish it could pose the heck out of it, but unfortunately, the bodies just can't hold up when they are sitting in this rubber suit for years and years at a time. Then you go and try and pose them, they just can't hold a pose. I pray that Hot Toys one day will go ahead and make a metal endoskeleton version of this figure where the suit is actually just a rubber body. That way you should be able to get the maximum range of motion and posability and still be able to hold those poses. Nevertheless, I'm still in love with the way this guy looks. What we are going to do now though is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal, and I have to say, aside from one thing, this is a pretty darn flawless version of a Batman Begins suit, and then they've taken it a step further and made it the demonized version. I love the way this looks. It's not just a dirtied up suit, this is actually sculpted in to the rubber itself. Also, there's this sort of brownish rust effect throughout the entire suit there, at least on the top portion, just to give the illusion that this is rotting and rusting and going all dirty and grimy. Not to mention that absolutely glorious head sculpt. I love the way this thing looks. It's sculpted to the nines, the paint applications are pretty much flawless. You can also see this sort of black sludge and tar coming out of the mouth there. It also comes out of the eyes, which are a really stunning, deep, glossy black. I do like how these ears are sculpted kind of like real bat ears. It's a nice throwback to, well, actual bats. Now, the one thing that I'm not a huge fan of is, of course, the cape. It's a super nasty, cheap feeling material. It doesn't drape nicely, it doesn't flow nicely, but at the very least it has a little bit of dirt and grime up the top here, which nicely matches the cowl itself. I'll be doing probably what Dean Knight did and creating a custom velvet cape, then weathering it up and potentially burning it myself. Now, the belt is also really nicely done. It has that rusty sort of reddish orange effect throughout the entire thing, just on top of the black to give it a little bit more oomph. Now, the gauntlets are also dirty and grimy, so it's not just a rehash of the Batman Begins suit, there is a lot to look at here. It's pretty much a feast for the eyes, at least on the top half. When you get to the lower half, however, it's pretty much just a regular Batman Begins suit. Entirely rubber, just this sort of rubbery material, as I said, throughout the entire thing. It's pretty restrictive in the way it moves, and you can tell that literally just by looking at it. You do have these knee pads which are floating on the top there, so do be careful not to overpose the knees because I would imagine those may come off. Now, unlike my Batman Begins figure, this has the actual boots that he came with, obviously, because this guy is brand new, whereas on mine, I swapped these out for the DX12 ones. The reason I did that was because these are an actual rubbery style material. I've said rubbery about 100 times in this video already, I'm sure, but that means that it's a little bit more restrictive when it comes to ankle posing. I much prefer a split cut boot design, but yes, you can see the sculpt work on the bottom of the boot, including that little bat summoner piece in the heel. Unfortunately, it cannot be removed, but at the very least, I'm glad it's there. Overall, though, I'm really darn impressed with the way the suit looks. It's just that cape which is holding this guy back. Now, for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the demonized version of Batman standing alongside Bruce Wayne from the Armory 2-pack, and as you can see, it looks like Bruce Wayne could fit in this suit. It's about right height-wise, just slightly taller than Bruce in his regular dress shoes. I like that. It works for me quite nicely. However, the body proportions on Demon Batman, being an older release, kinda looks a little bit funky. I am hoping that one day Hot Toys gets around to giving us the ultimate 1/6 scale version of Batman Begins Batman, and then a reissue potentially of this guy with the newly updated body. And just like with Scarecrow, let's go over articulation on Batman. Now he has a relatively hindered range of motion at the neck, as the actor did in the suit itself. Christian Bale couldn't really move his head, and neither can this figure. I mean, you get a little bit, but not a lot. The arms go out to about there, although the suit is rubbery, so they will spring straight back down. Going forward, same thing. You do have a butterfly joint up there as well, double bend for the elbows, which surprisingly do hold quite nicely, and a regular 1/6 scale joint for the wrist itself. Now the torso has a crunch, swivel, and pivot side to side. The legs themselves forward to about there and out to about there, swivel at the thigh, double bend there for the knee, and of course a regular 1/6 scale ball joint for the ankle itself. Just wrapping up on the Hot Toys 10th anniversary Demon Batman and Scarecrow 2-pack. Now I do have to say a huge thank you to Dean Knight for showcasing these guys over the years, because without him I probably wouldn't have ever gone ahead and picked these up, but him having shown the Demon Batman in all its glory a bunch of times, I thought, to hell with it, it's time to finally pick this up. And that's why I asked for it for my birthday, and thank goodness I did, because I really like these figures. They do have their issues, they're older releases, but they are the only official Hot Toys versions of both of these characters. Therefore, they do fit in quite nicely alongside the rest of the line. I will personally be switching out the cape on Batman, and I'm as yet undecided if I'm going to be displaying Scarecrow with the full straight jacket trench coat on, or not. Let me know what you think of that down in the comments below, but other than that, I'm pretty darn impressed. They are simple, bare bones releases, but Hot Toys did them really darn well. Now if you do want to pick them up, I do believe you can find them from Toys Wonderland, but they will be expensive because they are old, long since sold out releases, so do bear that in mind. I have popped the link for that down in the description below. Also, while you are down there, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.